Wife of 20 years, had multiple affairs in the last 4 years. Let me start by saying my 47M wife, 49F, is my best friend and that I love her. But what she did makes me feel like I'm not in love with her anymore. Long story ahead. Sorry about that. I haven't told this to anyone except for a few details passed to my parents. My wife has a lot of unresolved trauma. Gang saw at age 12, struggles with depression, and is a self-admitted alcoholic. It runs in her family and has surged in recent years. She wants to stop drinking, but it hasn't happened yet. She's good at hiding it from most people, but she has her tells and I typically know when it's happening. It's a point of conflict because she's a different person once she starts and I usually confront her about it. She has driven while intoxicated and has had some very minor fender benders, some of which occurring with the kids in the car. No do's yet, but I won't be surprised when the call comes in. I've never been a big drinker, but have essentially stopped drinking altogether to eliminate the presence of alcohol in the house. She purchases wine when I'm not around to feed her habit. She's also struggled with her work career. For a while, she was making a great salary and was the top earner in our household. Her superiors had a big falling out and she was forced to choose a side, which took a huge emotional toll. She tried to make a new start with the side she chose, but it didn't work out. So she ended up without a job and immediately felt inferior within our relationship, even though I reassured her that we were more than fine financially and otherwise. Not long after, and almost 2 years ago now, I came home late one night from a work trip to find her passed out on the couch. She had been extra careful with her phone at the time, and I got curious as to what she was hiding. I looked at her phone and immediately found a sexting thread with a coworker of mine that confirmed my worst fears. They had been meeting up while I was away for work or even while I was at the gym. As far as I could tell, it had been going on for at least 3 months. I took pictures of everything I could find and secured them so that I would have the evidence if necessary. Maybe the worst part of their conversation was a text where she wrote that she didn't know what it was, but that she loved him. He clearly didn't feel the same way, or at least there was no reciprocation of the sentiment at the time. I was in shock and couldn't believe it was happening. I truly had no idea she could do such a thing. Against my better judgment, I woke her up immediately and confronted her. She was still drunk at the time, but burst into tears. One of her initial responses was that she secretly caught me looking at porn one night a while back and had subsequently asked if she wanted to have sex. She told me this made her feel unattractive, even though I would say our life in the bedroom was pretty average at the time for a couple our age. I do watch porn on occasion, but it mainly out of boredom and I don't need it to spark our sex life. She knows this and has watched with me on occasion. Over the next few days as she sobered up, she claimed that she was perpetually drunk and that's when these meetups and sexting exchanges occurred. I believe her on this point because she's truly a different person when she's drinking and her inhibitions are completely unleashed. I was beyond hurt, but decided to stay because I couldn't contemplate upending our lives. 3 kids, all teenagers or preteen at the time. I genuinely believed she would kill herself if I left. I stayed, and then it happened. 4 months ago I came home and she was passed out again. My lack of trust for her made me feel like I had no choice but to check her phone again. Sure enough, she was sexting with someone else, another coworker, reminiscing about the times they had been together. Pictures and video included this time. I sat on it this time and called my parents to give them some details and ask for advice. They didn't tell me what to do, but offered support in whatever I chose. I texted a recently divorced friend and asked for an attorney recommendation. I called the attorney, but she didn't pick up. I left a message and never got a call back. When I got home after leaving the message, I asked her how many men she had slept with since we'd been married. She lied and tried to admit only to the one. She genuinely had no idea that she had been texting with this other guy the night prior. She was that drunk, so I asked her about the other guy, using his name. Fear washed over her face and she knew that I knew. More tears and claimed that she hadn't seen him in person in years. Turns out, that affair occurred previously to the one that I knew about. It was also not a one-off event as they apparently met up several times, but she can't remember specifics. The text thread I found was an attempt at rekindling the affair while she was drunk again. The guy asked if he could come over to our house and she said that he couldn't because I was returning home. True. I felt so numb by it all, consumed by a drowning feeling of shock and betrayal like never before. Trust cannot be any less than 0, but that's what it feels like. The fact that it had happened before the other affair didn't seem to make it any better, especially because she lied about it, assuming there was no way that I could possibly have come up with evidence of it happening. Thankfully, her drunk persona is too sloppy to take precautions. Writing this out makes it seem perfectly obvious that I should just divorce her. And yet, I'm finding it difficult to throw away what I have with her and my kids. I really don't think the kids know what's been going on, apart from the drinking. A divorce would obviously be highly disruptive to our lives and our kids' lives. As much as I'd like 100% custody of the kids in that scenario to ensure their complete safety, my job still requires a lot of travel, so I feel like she would have to have partial custody unless I find a way to change careers completely. She continues to drink, albeit not as much lately. She's started therapy in an attempt to show me she's committed to dealing with her trauma and alcoholism. When she's not drinking, she's my best friend, a caring partner, and a wonderful mom. When she's drinking, she's combative and clearly doesn't give a f about anyone but herself and her own ego. Bottom line, I don't trust her, and I'm not sure I ever can as long as she drinks, however infrequently. But I'd like to make it work for the sake of the kids, at least for a few more years. I think if the attorney had called me back, I'd be in a different situation. But the extra time has given me time to reflect and decide what's best for me and my family. If you're still reading, thanks for your time. I probably need therapy, because I obviously can't get this off my mind. I can't stop envisioning her with these other men, and I want revenge, even though they were likely just thinking with their case, as most men do. However, I am planning on letting their wives know at some point, along with providing conclusive evidence of the affairs. They won't get away cleanly. That's all for now. I don't know if I need advice or not, just trying to get some of this out there. Thanks again for listening.